Along the edge of these beautifully manicured 40 acres runs a small stream known as Horse Creek, the namesake for this award-winning refreshment. Nashville, Georgia is home to Horse Creek Winery at Perry Vineyards. This property represents a perfect blend of old Southern traditions and the progression and innovation of the New South. And if these muscadine grapes could talk, they'd tell you they're the sweetest in the US of A. Ed and Andrea Perry are the founders and owners of Horse Creek Winery, a business that began in 2008, but this land and this family history goes way back.
This family farm goes back to the 1800s. At the end of the Civil War, our family have always been a family of agriculture. And they started out actually in the timber business when timber was big, and they often say the railroad came and got the timber for cross ties, and then when the timber was cut, we got into the cotton farming. The boll weevil got the cotton. So then we went into the tobacco business, raising tobacco. And the government got the tobacco when they found out it was so unsafe, so we got into the cattle business. And then it evolved into produce, and the produce we chose was the muscadine grape. The muscadine grape is native to Georgia. It's been here since before man. It was here with the dinosaurs. It's a native grape and it's easy to grow. It's resistant to diseases that you find around here. It'll survive in the humidity. And then we started selling that to wineries around the country. And they found out that the grapes coming from this vineyard made really excellent wine. So when we harvest our grapes, we do it by hand. All our grapes are picked by hand. We don't harvest any of it by machines. So whenever we made the wine or sold the grapes to Chateau Elan or to any of the other wineries, the reason we thought maybe the reason it was making such a superior wine is because of the grape was really a pure grape and it wasn't mixed with any leaves or trash or bugs or anything else that may happen to get in a mechanical harvesting. So that's what got us into the wine business.
Horse Creek bottles over 25 varieties of wine, the majority coming from these sweet Georgia-grown muscadines that burst with natural southern sweetness. So it only seems fitting to blend it with a few other natural flavors that grow from this southern soil.
We always wanted to accent agriculture. That was what our roots were. So we developed watermelon wine, blueberries, blackberries, and peach, of course, which the state's known as the peach state, and that is our best-selling wine. But we have strawberry and all other fruits and commodities that's grown around the state. So all of our product is a Georgia-grown and Georgia-produced and has a Georgia history behind it.
We've actually been able to take our muscadine grapes and make award-winning wine all over the country with it. We send it up to international competitions in New York and out to California yearly. And our muscadine wines, I mean, they compete with the biggest Cabernet, Chardonnay, and Merlot grapes that are out there.
Soon after the awards started stacking up, Ed and the Horse Creek team quickly realized that they had something special and found the best way to share this wine was to combine it with good times. A charming tasting room and store soon opened here in Nashville, followed by another tasting room and spectacular bistro in the little town of Sparks. This Sparks location, seen clearly from the road while traveling Interstate I-75 about 30 miles north of the Florida border, is a neoclassical style home with a massive covered back porch that comfortably tucks into the surrounding vineyard.
We've actually had some people that have come in, they've just seen the building and stopped because they thought the building was just beautiful and they had to see the inside of it.
These well-manicured muscadine vines are draped as a picture-perfect canvas all along these 40 acres, painting a perfect backdrop for weddings and other special events. But these old vines take expertise to maintain. The hand-picked grapes are then carried to the chilled fermentation room where they are pressed, cold stabilized, and bottled. Or in some cases, repurposed for a thirst-quenching southern refreshment. That's right, wine slushies.
We have a a lot of hot days down here, you finish up your wine tasting. It comes with a wine slushie. We've also now got them to go. They can come in, sit anywhere on premise and enjoy it, or they can take them in a little jug to go. And it really cools you down on these hot South Georgia days.
These classic Georgia-grown wines can be found at each of the primary locations and stores all over the Southeast. But one of the sweetest places I've found to take a load off and relax with some fine muscadine wine is the Horse Creek Winery Tasting Room in Georgia's second oldest city, Darien, home to the Waterfront Wine and Gourmet.
Horse Creek Winery, it embraces rural Georgia and it embraces Georgia history. So our third leg of what we're trying to create with Horse Creek Winery is going to the coast at Darien, Georgia. It was settled about the same time that Savannah was with Oglethorpe. And my descendants actually came over with Oglethorpe as indentured servants. They had to work for 7 years to be a citizen of the Crown and part of the colonies, which they did. So the Waterfront Wine Bar and Gourmet is actually our flagship tasting room, which is located in Darien, and they promote Horse Creek Winery, and we in turn promote them. Their mission is to perpetuate good feel of a good time, but in a historical environment.
And since lovers of this wine have been so supportive through the years, Ed and the rest of the Horse Creek team have decided to give back. And for that, we go way back, about 200 years to the original construction of the Sapelo Island Lighthouse, an historic barrier island beacon situated just north of Darien.
1820 is when the lighthouse was built. That's 200 years ago. And then the range beacon came along later behind that in order to give guidance to the ship in order where to actually approach the harbor, and also give them a bearing on how far out they were. That's why it's called a range marker. And both of these navigation aids were very important from the middle of the 1800s all the way to 1930.
The 65-foot tall Sapelo Island Lighthouse is one of only 5 lighthouses remaining in Georgia. And about 150 yards from the iconic tower is a cast-iron range beacon built in 1877 and thought to be the only one of its kind in existence. David Friedman of the Friedman Engineering Group has teamed with Horse Creek Winery and the Georgia Department of Natural Resources to restore and maintain these 2 historic structures.
We were introduced to Ed Perry at Horse Creek Winery and came up with the idea of a private label wine to celebrate the lighthouse. And interesting enough, the lighthouse, the day mark is red and white, so that worked out well. And they're all made in Georgia from Georgia products at Horse Creek Winery.
The wine is a gold medal wine, so the profits are going to restore that. But we want to preserve that lighthouse and we want to preserve that range marker because it's a proud part of our history and a proud part of the settlement of Georgia.
Every sale of the Lighthouse Red and Range Beacon White are a self-rewarding way to make a contribution and help preserve an important piece of coastal Georgia history, all courtesy a refreshingly sweet Georgia-grown grape from a family that's been growing in the South since Georgia's beginnings.